Falcons receiver Calvin Ridley has been suspended indefinitely from the NFL. It's at least going to be a 1-year suspension. He's going to miss the entire 2022 season. It could be longer. He was expended is another word. He was suspended for gambling on NFL games, including apparently even gambling on his own team. Now, there's a lot here. Number one, Calvin Ridley said on Twitter that he does not have a gambling problem, and he only bet $1,500, $1,500. A lot of people are comparing this to previous NFL suspensions, saying like, well, Ray Rice was suspended for this amount of time, and Tom Brady was suspended for this amount of time, and comparing it to domestic violence and stuff like that. It's messy, and people are saying that the Calvin Ridley suspension is too long and really harsh. And I agree, it is long, it is really harsh, but that's intentional because, pardon my French, the NFL views what Calvin Ridley did as a massive, massive fuck up. You cannot do that if you are an NFL player. As an NFL player, like one of the number one things they tell you is, hey, you can't gamble. They're very clear about it. They make sure that you know that because it hurts the integrity of the league. It opens up a door to all kinds of concerns, like players throwing games or, betting, meaning they're betting their team will lose and then intentionally playing bad and profiting off of it. You cannot have players in the NFL gambling on the NFL. It's unacceptable and should not happen. And so the NFL is going to come down really, really hard on Calvin Ridley. Doesn't matter how much the amount was. It doesn't really matter if you at home can gamble. The NFL is going to make an example out of Calvin Ridley because they're telling you, do not gamble. We've told you 1,000,000 times. It's way bigger than one man. It compromises the entire league. This massive billion-dollar industry we have? Yeah, when you gamble, people lose faith in that. We can't have that happening. And so I think it's, if anything, a year is generous. It could be much longer. The suspension could be lifetime if you are. I mean, they literally could just say, we don't need you, Calvin Ridley. You're not as important to us as we are to you. You're out of the league. Sorry, sayonara. Good luck finding another way to make money. Because the NFL here is like, look, this is zero tolerance. We do not at all accept gambling. And it could compromise our money. Could compromise a way for us to exist as a league. You may not like it. It may not be politically correct that they care way more about that than they care about domestic violence. But money talks, man. And if you do anything to screw with the NFL's money, they will come after you. So, you guys may know, I don't take any gambling sponsorships. I'm very proud of that. I have hurt myself financially in many ways by sending emails saying no to companies with offers to sponsor the show. Partly because I don't like playing games with money. It feels wrong to me, especially to encourage. I'm 24 years old, 25 in a couple days. I don't want to encourage other young people to play around with their money. That feels unethical to me. Like I don't like that. But also, I think it would compromise the integrity of the show. And it would compromise everything I say. Behind the scenes, you'd be like, well, is he saying that for this or saying it because of this other? It's this overreaching arm into the sports world. And I just don't participate in any of the gambling stuff. I'm totally good. I like to talk about sports because I like the stories. I like the people. I don't bet on games, and I never have and never will. Now, one thing that does complicate the Calvin Ridley story is that he took a leave of absence during the year. He played in only 5 games. He stepped away entirely from the Atlanta Falcons after week 7. And I would love to see a timeline on this. When did he gamble and when did he take a step away from Atlanta? Because it very well may be true. He told the world that he had mental health problems, and I support that. If you're having a hard time with mental health, do what you got to do. Go get professional help. I try to be very sensitive to that because it impacted me negatively in my own life. My brother took his own life a long time ago. So if you're having a hard time, I encourage everybody, go get help. It's horrible. Now, here's the thing I do not like saying. but I have to. I'm also a little bit skeptical because when you talk about mental health, it's kind of a free pass in our society. People use it often, and I worry that sometimes we get manipulated by people who claim they're having mental health problems. And I've watched the TV show Ray Donovan maybe too much. He's a fixer in LA in the TV show where, watch Ray Donovan, watch Flack on Amazon. It's about people using PR to manipulate a public image or persona. And I wonder, unfortunately, a little voice in my head goes, maybe he did step away because of mental health reasons. It makes total sense. I hope he goes and gets right and does what he needs to do. However, and I hate saying this, did he know a suspension was coming? Did he stop playing because he hoped it would soften the blow? He's like, look, I already took half a year off. Maybe that. I don't know. I'd hate saying that. I'm sure I'm going to get crucified for asking that question. But maybe did his agent find out and advised him to sit out? There's a lot we don't know. But Calvin Ridley made a massive mistake. The NFL is not going to go easy on him. And you can be angry that other punishments in the NFL haven't been bigger. Like, you beat your wife and you don't get a worse penalty, right? I'll hear that argument. Totally understand that. But you also doesn't mean you should go easy on Calvin Ridley, who it's so ugly. I hate comparing those things. They're not really comparable. But man, if you do something that threatens the entire league, gambling as a player, the NFL knows where that goes and how that plays out. You can't have people like, I don't know, anybody shorting games or throwing games in order to make more money on the side. And so they're going to make an example out of Calvin Ridley, and I think they're totally justified. I think the conversation about other athletes and other suspensions is valid too. Have that conversation somewhere else. But I don't think that the very intentionally harsh punishment of Calvin Ridley is too harsh, because I think they have to be. They're going to make an example out of this guy and say, if you're a player in the NFL, you cannot gamble on the NFL. Zero policy. It cannot happen. And should this, punish other people worse? Maybe too, right? But if you threaten the league's money, they're going to come after you, and they are going to come down hard and have come down hard on Calvin Ridley.